Did you know in the books, the assassination of Renly Baratheon is quite different from the series? The shadow is described to appear like the common two-dimensional shadow of Renly himself on the wall, rather than the black three-dimensional one seen and later described to resemble Stannis in the TV show. Catelyn describes the shadow baby from her perspective as only the king's, or Renly's, shadow shifting against the silken walls. The shadow is noticed to be abnormal because it acts differently from Renly himself. The shadow raises the sword, while Renly himself still has his real sword in the sheath. In the assassination, Renly's steel gorget is cut through like cheesecloth, and his throat is sliced cleanly, while the shadow makes no physical contact with him. In the TV series, he is stabbed in the back while he is not wearing any armor.
There are two Shadow Baby assassinations. The first is never seen and kills Renly in his camp. The second time is when Davos rows Melisandre into Storm's End, which has refused to bend the knee to Stannis Baratheon despite Renly's death. The second Shadow Baby kills Sir Courtney Penrose, the Castellan Renly placed in charge because he knew the man would never bend the knee to Stannis. The reason why Davos had to row Melisandre into a cavern underneath Storm's End is that there are supposed protective spells built into the castle walls. In the books, Melisandre does not ask Davos if he loves his wife, nor does she state that he had known other women. Instead, she asks Davos if he is a good man, and he answers, "I am kind to my wife, but I have known other women." Renly planned to have Robert Baratheon put Cersei aside and marry Margaery Tyrell instead. This can be seen when Renly shows Ned a portrait of Margaery and asks if she looks like Lyanna. Ned tells him bluntly, no, probably because Margaery is more beautiful than Lyanna. And further evidence comes in Eddard 7, when Robert tells Ned that Renly has told him about the Knight of Flowers' lovely 14-year-old sister, Margaery. So maybe if Margaery had come to court and become one of Robert's favorites, kind of like Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII, then Cersei's incest could have been exposed and she would have been put aside in favor of Margaery, and a war between the Tyrells and Lannisters would have erupted. However, with the Starks, Baratheon, and Tyrells, I think they would have come out on top. After treating with Stannis, this is what Renly tells Catelyn. He commented, "I wonder where I can get a sword like that. Well, doubtless Loras will make me a gift of it after the battle. It grieves me that it must come to this." "You have a cheerful way of griefing," said Catelyn. "Do I?" Renly shrugged. "So be it. Stannis was never the most cherished of brothers, I confess. Do you suppose this tale of his is true? If Joffrey is the Kingslayer's get, your brother is the lawful heir." "While he lives," Renly admitted. "Though it's a fool's law, wouldn't you agree? Why the oldest son and not the best fitted? The crown will suit me, as it never suited Robert, and would not suit Stannis. I have it in me to be a great king, strong yet generous, clever, just, diligent, loyal to my friends, and terrible to my enemies. Yet capable of forgiveness, patient, humble," Catelyn supplied. Renly laughed. "You must allow a king some flaws, my lady." Every king of Westeros has been crowned by the Faith of the Seven, by the High Septon in particular. So, theoretically, Renly Baratheon did have the best claim to the throne during the War of the Five Kings. He could have simply stated that his brother Stannis has taken up with a red witch, worships demons, and practices blood magic for a foreign god, all in defiance of the laws of Westeros. Since the faith is what legitimizes the crown, and Westeros would never endorse the Lord of Light, perhaps Renly could have garnered further support if he went this route. Stannis Baratheon had nightmares of Renly's death. He tells Davos, "I dream of it sometimes, of Renly's dying, a green tent, candles, a woman screaming, and blood." He also talks of how Renly bringing out the peach during their meeting vexed him. "He brought his doom on himself with his treason. But I did love him, Davos. I know that now. I swear, I will go to my grave thinking of my brother's peach." When Catelyn Stark went to meet with Renly Baratheon in Bitterbridge, it was the first time she was seeing him since he was a boy of Bran's age. When she eventually observes him, she essentially comes to the conclusion that he is the second coming of Robert Baratheon. Small wonder the lords gather around him with such fervor, she thought. He is Robert come again. Renly was handsome as Robert had been handsome, long of limb and broad of shoulder, with the same coal-black hair, fine and straight. the same deep blue eyes, the same easy smile. The slender crown around his brows seemed to suit him well. Despite the animosity Renly and Stannis Baratheon had towards each other, Renly still respected Stannis enough to tell Lord Randyll Tarly that Stannis should die honourably. When my brother falls, see that no insult is done to his corpse. He is my own blood. I will not have his head paraded about on a spear. And if he yields, Lord Tarly asked. Yields, Lord Rowan laughed. When Mace Tyrell laid siege to Storm's End, Stannis ate rats rather than open his gates. Stannis Baratheon didn't get Storm's End automatically after Renly's death, as seen in the show. The Castellan of Storm's End, Courtney Penrose, refused to give it over as he didn't want to surrender Edric Storm, Robert's bastard. Remain as before, said Stannis. I will pardon you for your treason, as I have pardoned these lords you see behind me. The men of your garrison will be free to enter my service or to return unmolested to their homes. You may keep your weapons and as much property as a man can carry. I will require your horses and pack animals, however. And what of Edric Storm? My brother's bastard must be surrendered to me. Then my answer is still no, my lord. Like he did to Renly, Stannis offered one last chance. In the end, another one of Melisandre's shadow babies ended up killing Penrose. This is what Jaime thought of Renly and Stannis Baratheon. When Jaime asked for an update from Catelyn on how the war is going, she says, Stannis marches against King's Landing, she said grudgingly. Renly is dead, murdered at Bitterbridge by his brother, through some black art I do not understand. A pity, Jaime said. I rather liked Renly. Though Stannis is quite another tale. What side have the Tyrells taken? Renly at first. Now I could not say. It would have been cool to see Renly and Jaime together. Cersei Lannister was glad that Renly Baratheon was killed, with Stannis being her main foe rather than the other way around. Will not Lord Stannis seek to win the allegiance of White Harbour as well? Asked Grand Maester Pycelle. Oh, he has tried. Lord Manderley has sent his letters to us and replied with evasions. Stannis demands White Harbour's swords and silver, for which he offers, well, nothing. One day, she must light a candle to the stranger for carrying Renly off and leaving Stannis. If it had been the other way around, her life would be that much harder. Just this morning, there was another bird. Stannis has sent his onion smuggler to treat with White Harbour on his behalf. Manderley has clapped the wretched inside a cell. He asks us what we should do with him. This was the life of Renly Baratheon before A Game of Thrones. Renly was born in 277 AC at Storm's End, 21 years before the start of A Game of Thrones. Like Robert and Stannis, his parents were Lord Stefan Baratheon and Lady Cassana Estamont. Shortly thereafter, King Aerys II Targaryen dispatched his cousin Stefan towards Volantis seeking a Valyrian-blooded bride for Prince Rhaegar. Stefan failed that mission, though he and Cassana did write to Storm's End mentioning they had discovered a quite gifted fool. During their voyage back from the Free Cities in 278 AC, Stefan and Cassana's vessel, the Windproud, met a violent tempest and perished in Shipbreaker Bay, leaving no survivors save the jester Patchface. A young Renly enjoyed bright colors, fabrics, and pretending to be a dragon or a wizard. Renly and Stannis endured the war under siege at Storm's End. Renly did witness the misery of the famished soldiers, while Lord Mace Tyrell and his lords feasted within view of the gates. By 286 AC, King Robert I Baratheon awarded Stannis the lordship of Dragonstone, usually the domain of the king's heir, and awarded Renly Storm's End, entitled him Lord Paramount of the Stormlands. This angered Stannis, who believed that because he was the senior of Robert's younger siblings, Storm's End was his by law. When Renly hit 16 in 293 AC, he held a Lord's Progress through the Stormlands to honor his coming of age. Amidst this journey, he reached the Isle of Tarth, where Renly graciously danced with Brienne of Tarth, and she fell for him. Renly also reached Sunspear once. Princess Oberyn Martell remembers that she had worked her hardest to woo him, but notes that Renly had appeared more amused than aroused by her efforts. During his years as Lord of Storm's End, Renly kept Loras Tyrell as his squire. Eventually, Renly and Loras became partners. Renly was finally called to the small council where he fills the seat of Master of Laws. While he stays at court, his castellan at Storm's End is Sir Courtney Penrose, who has also been handed the task of fostering King Robert's bastard son, Edric Storm. Even though the show had Jaime leave Cersei for Brienne, there's a good chance that Jaime and Brienne might end up together as the Lord and Lady of Castle Rock. This is because, in the books, after Jaime takes Riverrun, he is given a letter from Cersei telling him she has been arrested by the High Sparrow and she needs him now more than she ever has before. However, after reading the letter, Jaime casually burns the letter and makes no effort to go and save Cersei. Meanwhile, Jaime finds an injured Brienne and immediately goes with her to help save Sansa Stark. This is actually a trap set by Lady Stoneheart, but one we think Brienne will save Jaime from. But it goes to show that in the books, Jaime has completely given up on Cersei, but will drop everything, including his army, to help Brienne. Brienne is very unattractive in appearance, and considered hard to look at. She is tall, muscular, flat-chested, and ungainly, with long shoulder-length, brittle straw-coloured hair and broad, coarse features that are covered in freckles. Brienne's teeth are prominent and crooked. Her mouth is wide, her lips are swollen, and her nose has been broken more than once. She has large, beautiful blue eyes though, but her fingers are thick and calloused. When asked about her height, George R.R. Martin replied, "Brienne is well over 6 feet tall, but not close to 7. Just off the top of my head, I would say Brienne is taller than Renly and Jaime, and significantly heavier than either, but nowhere near the size of Gregor Clegane, who is the true giant in the series. Shorter than Hodor and the Greatjon, and the Hound. Maybe roughly the same height as Robert."
Brienne comes to respect Podrick Payne very quickly, whereas in the show, Brienne seems to constantly mistreat and dislike him, which is such a shame because in the books, their relationship is great and climaxes with Brienne refusing to bring Jaime Lannister to Lady Stoneheart to be hung. So the Brotherhood without banners prepare to hang Brienne, which she accepts. Brienne's companion, Hyle Hunt, yells and fights back. However, when she sees Podrick not even put up a fight as they hang him, she abandons her oath to Lady Catelyn and calls for a sword in order to save Podrick's life. And the last we see of Brienne is her leading Jaime away from his army towards the dense woods. But it's doubtful she'll just hand him over to die, and instead probably has a plan.
Brienne didn't actually know Renly preferred men to women and was actually romantically in love with him. Brienne has a fever dream where she reveals Lord Renly was ahead of her, her sweet smiling king. Brienne called out to tell him how much she loved him, but when he turned to scowl at her, she saw that he was not Renly after all. This is Gendry who she sees, in case you're wondering. This gets at the heart of a lot of Game of Thrones romances. Everyone is in love with someone else. Elia Martell loves Rhaegar, but Rhaegar was in love with Lyanna. Cersei was also in love with Rhaegar. Littlefinger is in love with Catelyn. Lysa is in love with Littlefinger. Tyrion was supposed to be in love with Arya, and Arya in love with Jon Snow, but all would be unreciprocated. Brienne and the Hound never encounter each other. Their encounter is based on Brienne's fight with Rourke and Biter, the two guys with Jaqen in the back of the cell that Arya swats with her practice sword. Instead, Brienne encounters and fights Rourke, who is masquerading as the Hound by wearing his helm. Biter tackles Brienne down and bites off half her cheek. Meanwhile, the Hound is severely wounded by the Tickler during the encounter at the inn at the crossroads, and is left to die by Arya on the way to Salt Pans. It happens much earlier in the books. Arya does not take his purse, but later wishes she had, as she cannot afford to book passage on a ship. The Hound is not watching over Arya in the books, nor does he ever claim to be. He intends to ransom her to her great-uncle Brynden Tully. Renly didn't actually like Brienne, and here is what he told Loras about the Maid of Tarth. The younger man stared for the door, but there he turned back. Renly thought she was absurd, a woman dressed in man's mail pretending to be a knight. If he'd ever seen her in a pink satin, he would have not complained, Jaime replied. I asked him why he kept her close, if he thought her so grotesque. He said that all his other knights wanted things of him, castles or honors or riches, but all that Brienne wanted was to die for him. So this seems to prove that Renly was just using Brienne's feelings for him to his own benefit. But at the same time, no other king would have allowed a woman to rise so high, and he rewarded based on her merit rather than her looks.
Brienne does not kill any of Renly's Kingsguard because seconds after the murder of Renly, Robar Royce and Sir Emyn Kai burst into the tent with 2 men-at-arms to find Renly's dead body in the arms of Brienne Tarth. They both think that Brienne has killed Renly, so Emyn and the others attack her. However, Catelyn is able to convince a frightened Robar Royce that Brienne is innocent. The young knight tells Catelyn to take Brienne away, and he holds the attackers at bay as Catelyn and Brienne escape. Sadly for Robar, when Loras Tyrell finds Renly dead, he kills Robar and Emyn in a bloodthirsty rage for their failure to protect their king, which is such a sad end for Robar Royce, whose brother was Waymar Royce, the guy from the beginning of episode 1 in The Night's Watch.
Brienne was trained by one of the best knights who saw her potential despite her gender. Sadly, he is dead, but Brienne remembers him fondly. He told me I was as strong as most knights. Her old master-at-arms used to say that she was quicker than any woman her size had the right to be. The gods had given her stamina too, which Sir Goodwin deemed a noble gift. Fighting with sword and shield was a wearisome business, and victory oft went to the man with the most endurance. Sir Goodwin had taught her to fight cautiously, to conserve her strength while letting her foes spend theirs in furious attacks. Men will always underestimate you, he said, and their pride will make them want to vanquish you quickly, lest it be said that a woman tired them sorely. She had learned the truth of that once she went into the world. Even Jaime Lannister had come at her that way. This is how she beat him. Brienne loves her father and calls herself a freak, which is really tragic when she tells Septon Merrybolt about her father. A daughter, he deserves that. A daughter who could sing to him and grace his hall and bear him grandsons. He deserves a son too, a strong and gallant son to bring honor to his name. Galadon drowned when I was 4 and he was 8 though. And Arianne died still in the cradle. I am the only child the gods let him keep, the freakish one, not fit to be a son or daughter. And when asked to stop looking for Sansa Stark, Brienne says, I have to find her, she finished. There are others looking, all wanting to capture her and sell her to the Queen. I have to find her first. I promised Jaime, Oathkeeper, he named the sword. I have to try to save her, or die in the attempt. Biter, one of the 2 guys in the wheelhouse cell with Jaqen in Season 2, Episode 2, nearly eats Brienne. Biter tackles her from behind and gets on top of her. Biter's mouth gaped open, impossibly wide. She saw his teeth, yellow and crooked, filed into points. When they closed on the soft meat of her cheek, she hardly felt it. I cannot die yet, she told herself. There is something I still need to do. Biter's mouth tore free, full of blood and flesh. He spat, grinned, and sank his pointed teeth into her flesh again. This time he chewed and swallowed. He is eating me, she realized. But she had no strength left to fight him any longer. She felt as if she were floating above herself, watching the horror as if it were happening to some other woman, to some stupid girl who thought she was a knight. It will be finished soon, she told herself. Then it will not matter if he eats me. Even though Tormund's attraction for Brienne did have some funny moments, it got a bit dumb by the end, and really felt like a sitcom gimmick by the end that didn't belong in the high-concept, hyper-realistic show that Game of Thrones had been in the early seasons. For example, Tormund was attracted to Brienne because of her looks and that she was a knight, but didn't know a thing about her, whereas Brienne is attracted to genuine kindness, which is why she fell in love with Renly, because he was the first lord to ever actually be nice to her when others would shame her to her face and behind her back. He danced with her and treated her as a lady even though she was ugly and huge. Jaime did the same thing by revealing to her the truth of why he killed the Mad King and coming back to save her from the bear in the pit. Tormund needed to show her something similar. This is what happened after Jaime jumped into the pit to save Brienne. "You slew my bear," Vargo Hoat shrieked. "And I'll serve you the same if you give me trouble," Steelshanks threw back. "We're taking the wench. Her name is Brienne," Jaime said. "Brienne, the Maid of Tarth. You are still maiden, I hope?" Her broad, homely face turned red. "Yes." "Oh, good," Jaime said. "I only rescue maidens." To Hoat, he said, "You'll have your ransom for both of us. A Lannister pays his debts. Now fetch us some ropes and get us out of here." Afterwards, on the road back to King's Landing, Brienne rides up to Jaime and asks, "So Jaime," she was still in a soiled pink satin dress, "I am grateful, but you were well away. Why come back?" A dozen quips came to mind, each crueler than the one before, but Jaime only shrugged. "I dreamed of you," he said. Brienne of Tarth bites off part of Vargo Hort's ear before leaving Harrenhal. This scene was omitted from the show, but occurred when Vargo was trying to force himself on Brienne. This is what led Vargo to dump her in the bear pit. Of course, Brienne was eventually saved by Jaime, but what about Vargo's ear? It became infected afterwards, as Timian tells Brienne. His ear turned black and started leaking pus. But Vargo faced a worse fate, as he had his arms and legs chopped off by the mountain before later dying. It's revealed by Storm End's castellan, Sir Courtney Penrose, that Brienne of Tarth actually visited Storm's End when she was younger and knew her well. Prior to that, Renly Baratheon visited Tarth and treated her well, and she fell in love with him ever since. That is why Penrose can confidently state that Brienne didn't kill Renly. "A lie," Sir Courtney said. "I knew Brienne when she was no more than a girl, playing at her father's feet in Evenfall Hall, and I knew her still better when the Evenstar sent her to Storm's End. She loved Renly Baratheon from the first moment she laid eyes on him. A blind man could see it." So, in the book, Brienne's love for Renly was more romantic and girlish, whereas in the show, they portrayed it as that she knew he was gay. But he was the only person who treated her well, and so she wanted to serve him. There's a funny moment between Jaime Lannister and his cousin Cleos Frey when they're traveling to King's Landing along with Brienne. "Be quiet, monster, unless you mean to make me gag you," Brienne told Jaime. "She's rude as well, isn't she, cuz?" Jaime asked Sir Cleos. "Though she has steel in her spine, I'll grant you. Not many men dare name me monster to my face. Though, behind my back, they speak freely enough, I have no doubt." So Cleos coughed nervously. Lady Brienne heard those lies from Catelyn Stark, no doubt. "The Starks cannot hope to defeat you with swords, sir. So now they make you war with poisoned words. They did defeat me with swords, you chinless cretin," Jaime thought. It is interesting that Brienne is the only person to call Jaime a monster to his face, and probably why they do get so close in the books and show. Jaime tried to antagonize Brienne into unchaining his hands. "6 maids there were in a spring-fed pool." "What are you doing?" Brienne demanded. "Singing. 6 maids in a pool. I'm sure you've heard of it. And shy little maids they were too. Rather like you, though somewhat prettier, I'll warrant." "Be quiet," the wench said. "Please, Jaime," pleaded Cousin Cleos. "Lord Mooton is sworn to Riverrun. We don't want to draw him out of his castle, and there may be other enemies hiding in the rubble." "Hers or ours? They are not the same, cuz. I have a yen to see if the wench can use that sword she wears. If you won't be quiet, you leave me no choice but to gag you, Kingslayer. Unchain my hands and I'll play mute all the way to King's Landing. What would be fairer than that, wench? Brienne, my name is Brienne." Gwendolyn Christie transformed herself physically and mentally to play Brienne of Tarth. Fans had championed her for the role. She lost weight, built muscle, and trained extensively in horse riding, sword fighting, and postural work to become a believable warrior. Christie changed her lifestyle and embraced a more masculine appearance, even cutting her long hair. The physical demands were intense, especially filming her brutal fight with the Hound. A dedicated fan of the books, Cristi trained in yoga, kickboxing, and running to embody Brienne's strength, spirit, and complexity. Brienne called Jaime a craven. "Jaime," Brienne whispered, so faintly he thought he was dreaming it. "Jaime, what are you doing?" "Dying," he whispered back. "No," she said. "No, you must live." He wanted to laugh. "Stop telling me what to do, wench. I'll die if it pleases me." "Are you so craven?" The word shocked him. He was Jaime Lannister, a knight of the Kingsguard. He was the Kingslayer. No man had ever called him craven. Other things they called him, yes. Oathbreaker, liar, murderer. They said he was cruel, treacherous, reckless, but never craven. "What else can I do but die?" "Live," she said. "Live and fight and take revenge." But she spoke too loudly. Rorge heard her voice and came over to kick her, shouting at her to hold her bloody tongue if she wanted to keep it. Craven, Jaime thought. Can it be? They took my sword hand. Was that all I was? A sword hand? Gods be good. Is it true? Jaime shouted sapphires to save Brienne from being Ard. "Wench," he whispered, "let them have the meat, and you go far away." "They'll get no pleasure from what I'll give them," she whispered back. "Let them do it and go away inside." That was what he'd done when Lord Rickard Stark died screaming in his armor. Think of Renly, think of Tarth, waterfalls, Sapphire Isle, But Rorge won the argument. "One scream out of you and I'll pop one eye and make you eat it." Jaime chuckled. "There's a funny fool. I have a riddle for you, Shagwell. Why do you care if she screams? Oh wait, I know." He shouted, "Sapphires!" as loudly as he could. Rorge kicked at his stump. Jaime howled. When he woke, Hote was screaming, "She'th worth a bag of sapphires!" From then on, guards were posted nightly to protect them. We get more of a backstory on Podrick Payne from Brienne of Tarth. His was a lesser branch of House Payne. His father had spent his life spurning for richer cousins and had spied Podrick upon Chandler's daughter he'd wed before going off to die in the Greyjoy Rebellion. His mother had abandoned him with one of those cousins when he was 4, so she could run after a wandering singer who had put another baby in her belly. The boy had attached himself to a fat hedge knight named Sir Lorimer the Belly, who was part of Lord Letford's contingent, charged with protecting the baggage train. "The boys who guard the foodstuffs always eat the best," Sir Lorimer liked to say, until he was discovered with a salted ham he'd stolen from Lord Tywin's personal stores. Tywin Lannister chose to hang him as a lesson to other looters. Podrick had shared the ham and might have shared the rope as well, but his name had saved him. So Kevan Lannister took charge of him, and sometime later sent the boy to squire for his nephew, Tyrion. How Brienne of Tarth reacted in the books when she learned one of her leads in finding Sansa Stark was dead in the form of Lysa Tully. "If the Stark girl were here, I'd know it," Randyll Tarly said. "She's run back north, I'll wager, hoping to find refuge with one of her father's bannermen. She had best hope she chooses the right one." "She might have gone to the Vale instead," Brienne heard herself blurt out, "to her mother's side." Lord Randyll gave her a contemptuous look. "Lady Lysa is dead. Some singer pushed her off a mountain. Littlefinger holds the Eyrie now, though not for long. The Lords of the Vale are not the sort to bend their knees to some up-jumped jackanapes whose only skill is counting coppers." He handed her back her letter. "Go where you want and do as you will, but when you're don't look to me for justice. You will have earned it with your folly." Lysa Tully is dead? Brienne stood beneath the gallows, the precious parchment in her hand. The crowd had dispersed, and the crows had resumed their feast. This was the life of Brienne before a Game of Thrones. Brienne was the only child of Lord Selwyn Tarth, Lord of Evenfall Hall. Her mother died when she was so young that she does not remember her. She had an older brother who drowned when he was 8 and she was 4, and 2 sisters, both of whom died in the cradle. She was trained by the Master-at-Arms, Sir Goodwin, who taught her. "Men will always underestimate you, and their pride will make them want to vanquish you quickly. Let it be said that a woman tried them sorely. Let them spend their strength in furious attacks, whilst you conserve your own. Wait and watch, girl. Wait and watch." This is how she was able to defeat Jaime Lannister in combat. Brienne knew Courtney Penrose since she was a girl. Brienne's father successfully found 3 men willing to betroth her, though all the betrothals fell through. A younger son of Lord Brian Caron was Brienne's first betrothed. They met only once, on the occasion of their betrothal when she was 7 and he was 10. The boy died 2 years later from a chill, along with his father, mother, and sisters. Had he not died, Brienne would have been wed to him within the year of her first flowering. The second betrothal was to Sir Ronnet Connington, who was 6 years older than her. On their meeting, Red Ronnet gave her a rose and told her it was all she would have of him, breaking the betrothal as he felt she was a freak. The last man Brienne was betrothed to, Sir Humphrey Wagstaff, warned her he would insist she act like a proper woman once they were wed. Though only 16, Brienne replied she would only accept such a demand from a man who could beat her in combat. They duelled. Humphrey ended up with 3 broken bones and a broken betrothal. After that, Lord Selwyn stopped trying to arrange a marriage for Brienne. Brienne's only positive encounter with a man occurred when House Tarth's lineage, Lord Renly Baratheon, visited their island during the coming-of-age progress. He crossed paths with Brienne and treated her courteously, and she fell in love with him, though he didn't think much of her, according to Loras. Sometime later, Lord Selwyn sent his daughter to Storm's End. Renly's fool had made cruel japes about Brienne. Anyway, subscribe for more.